geopolitical crisis may have revealed that Hillary Clinton is the de facto ruler of the United States. This is Libertarian View, your source of decentralized and distributed information. With the fiasco in Afghanistan, many are beginning to realize that the protection offered by the United States is nothing more than a paper shield. The world has been perplexed by the American troops' withdrawal from Afghanistan, mainly because in just 1 week, the Taliban terrorist group regained control of the region. Amid the chaos, several people tried to flee the country. Some were so desperate to escape that they tried to cling to a military airplane as it took off from the Kabul airport. The infamous episode raised several questions regarding the figure of Joe Biden and the American command of the international chessboard. After all, the United States is the main economic and military power in the world, and they have had 20 years to plan their exit from Afghanistan. So why has the exit been so messy, to say the very least? Well, Joe Biden's mental capacities have been questioned for a while now, mainly due to his advanced age. The president will turn 79 in November this year. In addition to that, one has to bear in mind that with age comes tiredness and lack of energy. The decline of our abilities is a fact of life. And perhaps, leading the world's most powerful country is too heavy a burden for someone getting close to being an octogenarian. With all that, the latest crises have made it wide open that Joe Biden won the election, but he is not really the one who's running the White House. A clear sign of that problem came from Biden's behavior during the Afghan crisis apex. That's because, for no apparent reason, President Biden remained unreachable most of the time, even refusing to meet some of the foreign leaders who are his government's closest allies. As Joe Biden refused to take the reins of the problem, some US historic allies, such as the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, chose to speak with Hillary Clinton instead. The most curious thing about this is that Hillary does not hold any official position in the Biden administration, and the one to represent the American government precisely in cases where the president is unable to do so should be the Vice President, Kamala Harris. This may indicate that, although she holds the vice president role, Kamala Harris does not have any real influence on the government decisions either, as there is another hidden figure making decisions in her stead. Biden certainly is not. There are several examples that show that he is not taking the lead in the current crisis. He is probably not even aware of the most important developments in the present situation. The Daily Mail recently made a kind of fact-checking of Joe Biden's statements about the Middle East crisis. For example, Biden declared the American success in ridding of Al-Qaeda and that the Americans had not been prevented from reaching the Kabul airport. However, these statements were denied by the Pentagon itself. According to the Department of Defense spokesman John Kirby, Al-Qaeda remains present in Afghanistan. The Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, also told lawmakers in a briefing call that Americans had been beaten as they tried to reach the airport. Importantly, apart from the dubious content of Biden's statements, he remained for about 10 days in silence regarding the events in Afghanistan. And when he finally made a public statement, it was completely disconnected from reality. Biden's inertia was also criticized by Republican and Democratic lawmakers, including Jim Jordan, Tom Cotton, Lauren Boebert, Mike Pence, and many others. Democrat Dean Phillips went so far as to say that the decision to leave Afghanistan was made by the former president, but the execution of that decision and the attendant consequences must be owned by the current administration. Due to Biden's shameful performance, now the main players in the global economic and political hierarchy are beginning to notice the power vacuum left by the United States. As a result, tremors in the geopolitical chessboard are already starting to be felt. The morning the terrorists arrived in Kabul, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson attempted to contact Joe Biden by phone, the American president took 36 hours to return the call. His inertia was highlighted even in Chinese newspapers. Speaking of the United Kingdom and China, they seem to have made some contracts and technological partnerships after the American fallout. This decision, coming especially at this time, is a clear sign of a disturbance in the balance of power between the world powers. Another leader who decided to seek the support of US rivals was the German Angela Merkel, who made a farewell visit to the Kremlin for a 3-hour meeting with Vladimir Putin. They discussed issues such as humanitarian aid to Afghanistan and upcoming negotiations with the Taliban. Similarly, President Emmanuel Macron also approached the Russian leader to address the same issues, since apparently the American president was busy sleeping or taking care of other octogenarian concerns. Or maybe he was just sniffing people out, who knows. In face of such events, the Wall Street Journal says that Joe Biden broke NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and so some less powerful allies of the United States like Taiwan are already coming to the realization that they can no longer rely on Americans for their security. Those who prioritize their freedom, security, and prosperity cannot look favorably on these events, as the most worrying thing at the moment is the window of opportunity for other aggressor powers to take advantage of the weakness revealed by the American regime. American opponents couldn't have asked for a better president. Trillions of dollars being printed, unemployment soaring to new heights, migration crisis at the southern border, and now, to top it off, a gigantic diplomatic fiasco and an unprecedented crisis of credibility. Probably, even the most staunch socialists wouldn't believe that such an outcome was possible. Looks like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin are probably spinning in their graves for such wretched events. Last Tuesday, August 31st, was the deadline the White House negotiated with the Taliban to evacuate Americans and Afghan allies from Afghanistan. It is intriguing to see how Biden trusts the Taliban. So much so that his officials even provided the terrorist group with a list with names of people to evacuate, or we'd better say, to kill, as long as a generously expensive military arsenal for posterity. Of course, we should always hope for the best, that the civilians who have no interest in these war games at all come back home safely and live on to tell the next generations about the statists' measures to be avoided if they intend to preserve mankind's right to exist. Thank you for your audience. This article was originally written by Rodolfo Andrello, translated by Cabeça Livre, revised and narrated by J. Fernandes, and produced by the anarcho-capitalist Ragnar. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up icon below and share the video on your social network. If you want to be notified of other videos, hit subscribe and then the bell icon. Do not trust the government. See you soon.